hand so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell. I don't like to think of myself as a stupid person, but I have done a lot of things in my life that were just plain stupid. Snorting cocaine is stupid. Snorting cocaine for just under a decade, desperately attempting to recreate the euphoric high from the first line ever snorted, is so far beyond stupid it may even qualify as criminal. Fortunately, I recognized this in my 20s and stopped. I then began to devote a huge amount of my time and energy to spiritual growth. I know that sounds weird to most people, and I'm not one of those gullible New Age types who believes everything any Swami says, but I have always been very attracted to the idea of happiness, self-improvement, and change, which in my youth seemed to be somewhat elusive. For many years I studied astrology, went to spiritual retreats, practiced transcendental meditation, and much more. Even as I was drawn to these practices, I also was somewhat skeptical. If there were a joke to be found, I would find it. And yes, while there is a lot of silliness out there, I do sincerely believe there are also a lot of positive things to be learned. On May 4th, 2004, it suddenly occurred to me that what I had been looking for all those years couldn't come from someone or something else. I realized that I was the source of my own happiness. It was kind of like if in 40 years of life you had never once seen your own reflection and then one day you just simply looked in the mirror. The realization was so simple yet so weird. I think of that day as the day I woke up and started living, because there was a fundamental shift that happened in my mind and my perspective changed. Overnight, I no longer had any ongoing internal wars. I still had negative emotional reactions, but instead of hanging on to those feelings, I moved to acceptance seamlessly. It took me about 2 years to adapt to this new way of operating, and during that time, I felt extremely high, quite similar to a high from drugs, but much better. Actually, way better. Johnny and I took Quinn to school together the day after her 4th birthday. Afterward, we were standing in the kitchen while I made coffee for myself. He doesn't drink coffee. I asked him, "What attracted you to me that first night?" He responded, "Your lightness. When you walked into the room, there was a lightness about you." When this lightness happened, I stupidly assumed that I would do what countless others have done when waking up had happened to them. I would teach. I had emerged from more than a decade of intense spiritual study as a person who was committed to being as honest and authentic as I can be with myself, and to helping others to the same. I also had a knack for being able to help people see where they were stuck and what was keeping them from being happy. I'd been an actress, a producer, a filmmaker, and a writer. With my newfound lightness, accompanied with a few people asking me for guidance, teaching seemed the most logical thing for me to do next. So, on February 21st, 2006, I was in the process of becoming a spiritual teacher, or, to put it in more traditional terms, a life coach. If I were writing this as a screenplay, here is the part where God, played by Lenny Kravitz, or if Lenny is too busy touring, Bono, would erupt into laughter. I mean, really, what a joke. I was living in South Orange, New Jersey with my best friend, Mimi Godfrey Hochman, and her 2 sons, and my godsons. It was late afternoon, and I was getting ready to head into New York City. I remember feeling very happy. Ever since my new outlook on life had happened, my emotional state rarely varied from one of satisfaction. No matter what the circumstances were on the outside, life was just fun. By early evening, I had finished a downtown meeting with a guy from Plum TV about a TV show that never happened, and Mimi had finished getting her hair done, so we met up for dinner. As we approached Park Avenue, Mimi suggested that we stop for a drink at the Lowe's Regency Hotel. I liked that idea. I had never been inside the Regency. More importantly, Mimi was in love and wanted to revisit the places that she and her boyfriend had been visiting in the city. We walked in.